Way back in the day, John Gray released a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Now, I can't remember the exact stats, but I'm pretty sure he said something along these lines. Men say about 2,000 words a day. Women say about 10,000 words a day. We are absolutely different species when it comes to how much we communicate. Is it true? Is it not true? Is there real research? Because what he said was pretty flawed. Today, we answer that question in a slightly fun and unusual Doctor's Desk episode. G'day, and thanks so much for being here on the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. If you had to guess who talks more each day out of you and I, Kylie.
I was just thinking that. I think you came from Venus as well.
Which is kind of funny.
It's a competition in our house, I think.
Because just the other day we were talking about my masculine energy and now you're saying maybe not. I don't know what's going on here. Okay.
That's so funny.
So there's this common assumption that women are more talkative than men. I want to talk today about some research that's just been published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. This is a highfalutin, really well-regarded journal, and it has been for a long time. But to talk about this, I have to go back to 2007. So if we go back to 2007, some researchers found that men and women say about the same number of words every single day. They came in at 16,000 words, which I reckon is a lot of talking. You work that out across, let's say you're awake for 16 hours a day, 8 hours of sleep. That's 1,000 words an hour. That 1,000 words an hour, if I do some quick maths, 1,000 divided by 60 minutes means that we're speaking on average around about 17 words a minute all day, every day. 17 words a minute isn't heaps, but that's every single minute. You're saying something, and there are long periods of our days where we don't say anything at all, right? So anyway, the 2007 study basically said men and women, same amount of words, 16,000 a day or 17 per minute. But these findings have been called into question. There were all sorts of methodological limitations. It was uni students and it was a small sample and they were not representative of the general population. Shaky study, changed the conversation, but shaky study. So here's where we are. Guy called Colin Tidwell, he's at the University of Arizona. He and his colleagues have replicated this study, but on 5 times as many participants. We've got 2,200 participants in this study, varying ages from childhood right up to the age of 65. And they found that, and from 4 different countries as well. And they found that there are actually some gender differences, but only for certain age groups.
So I want to preface this with, I'm wondering whether in John Gray's time, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have any other form of connection outside of slow mail and our
slow mail, snail mail. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay. Yeah, but you still talk to people at work. You still talk to your family. Like, I don't think that the internet has been a game changer in how many words we're saying. And certainly I don't have any...
Really?
I don't have any...
You really don't think that?
No.
Okay.
No, because our face-to-face interactions with the people who are around us...
Yeah, but we're having less and less of those.
Well,
as a result.
Maybe even so, 16,000 words. I mean, John Gray's data was 2,000 for men and 10,000 for women.
I don't think it was that low for men.
I used to teach this stuff years ago and argue against it really strongly. Anyway, let me tell you how they did this, because how do you count the number of words a person's saying in a day? They did this protocol that was called the EAR protocol. EAR, E-A-R, stands for electronically activated recording. So essentially, the person who's wearing the monitor does not know when the recorder is recording and when it's not. It just randomly records short bursts of ambient sound intermittently throughout the day, and then the recordings are transcribed. The team essentially uses software to count the number of the words that are uttered in each recording. Then they extrapolate from this figure to arrive at a daily estimate for each person.
Do they count ums?
No, is not a word. Is not, I mean, it's a vocalization, but it's not technically a word. Big limitation with this study. I mean, they're looking at adults here, but they could not get ethical approval to have it record while the people were at work. So we don't have any sense of how much people are speaking at work. Okay? So I think that's a really big problem. Anyway, with that caveat acknowledged, after the break, I'll tell you what they found and what it means for us as parents. All right, your vocalizations are being recorded in short bursts throughout the day, then extrapolated so that we can work out how many words a day you're speaking. Here's what our doctor's desk experiment found in terms of who speaks more, males or females. Kylie, the results showed that people in our age group, that is early adulthood and middle adulthood, just in case you thought that I was taking a few years off us, that is, if you're aged between 24 and 65, men spoke an average of just under 12,000 words a day, 11,950 for the average bloke aged 24 to 65. 12,000 words. The average woman, 13,500 words, 13,349. So you look like there's something on the tip of your tongue, and being a female, you do need to get some words out, so off you go.
I just look at the evolution of relationships in general, and I think that screens do play a huge part in it. But I remember an acronym that was really building traction when I was younger, the SNAG, the sensitive new age guy.
In touch with his feelings.
Who's in touch with his feelings.
Communicator.
And he's a great communicator, yes. Previous to that, men didn't, in general, have those kinds of conversations.
The strong, silent type, the stoic man. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
I think that's a stereotype. I mean, I think about my dad, and he was so relational. He was wonderful to talk to. We would sit in the car or sit in the truck. He drove trucks for a living, and we would talk for hour after hour after hour, play games, engage in conversation. His masculinity was relational. It was not the stoic, strong, silent type. I know that we call the silent generation, that is grandparents and great-grandparents, we call them that, but it's not because they didn't speak. I mean, I think about Kevin Arnold's father in the Wonder Years, and he was that dad that you're referring to. He'd sit there at the dining table with a frown on his face and eat his meat and 3 veg and not say a word. I mean, I don't have any evidence for it, but certainly anecdotally, my experience and the experience that I had with all of the dads of my mates growing up, they were communicative. They loved an opportunity to get in and mix it up with the young bucks and play around.
But age, again, like I look at my grandparents and they...
Your grandparents didn't talk, and they were the silent.
Spoke.
They were the silent generation. I'm talking about boomers, so maybe there's something with the silent generation. Even so, today we've got 13,500 words being uttered by women, 12,000 by men. Here's where it gets interesting. Among adolescents, 10 to 17, almost exactly the same. Girls spoke about 500 words per day more than boys. I mean, that's nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Absolutely not. And for young adults...
Well, that's an essay in that age group.
Very short essay, but maybe. For young adults, 18 to 24, so we're talking about university students here, the results tallied pretty well with the findings from the students in the original 2007 study. The girls were a bit higher, 850 words more per day. Again, not much in it. Here's one thing that I find interesting. Over 65s, the gender difference is reversed. The women speak less than the men by about 1,000 words a day.
And I would believe that. I feel like as I'm getting older, I have less energy for it.
Right. But then again, you caught up with a girlfriend that you haven't seen for a while about a month ago, and I think that you said that you spoke for 5 hours nonstop. Didn't even realise that so you've got it in you. The words are there.
I can't believe you brought that up.
Happy to have a. Maybe we should call you that. Have a chat. That's what they used to call me when I worked in radio all those years ago. That was my nickname. Have a chat. So essentially, what we've got here is that there is a reasonable conclusion that can be drawn that in general women do speak a bit more than men, but probably not that much. There's a couple of hypotheses around it. I'm just not buying it. I mean, about a month and a half ago, we had a new boundary fence put along our property with our neighbours next door. And the 4 blokes that were in charge of looking after that fence, my goodness, they spoke more than the stereotypical old women that used to stand and talk over the fence. And I'm cautious using that phrase, but the stereotype exists for a reason, right? Those guys nattered away all day, and they were talking complete rubbish. They weren't talking about anything important. They had a couple of arguments about Donald Trump. But it was just fascinating to hear these guys, these men. If they had this ear transponder working on their heads, they would have just talked. Well, they talked each other's ears off. What does it mean in terms of our parenting? I mean, we're talking about real parenting solutions every day on our podcast. I've only got one take-home message, and that is communication. To be human is to communicate. To be human is to communicate. And it's good for our children to see us being relational, to see us being communicative. It's what we do. It's how we relate. It's important. And I think that we can dump the men are from Mars, women are from Venus trope from the way we talk. Let's just make sure that we're talking.
So just to put a spanner in the works, there are plenty of parents who are dealing with the teenage boy specifically who grunts.
Well, we've got a teenage girl who does that a fair bit as well. Honestly, sometimes can you just acknowledge that I said something to you, please?
So for the parent who's dealing with the teenage grunter in their living room, lounge room,
we have one
kitchen table
right now,
male or female.
Yep.
How do we encourage positive communication with a child like that?
So there are two things here related to the study. One of them is that your child is speaking. It's just that they're not really speaking at home, not really speaking to you, which brings me to the practical element, and that is we've got to teach our children consideration, empathy, kindness. That means that we might sit down with our child and say, we consistently are trying to talk with you and we're getting grunts or we're getting non-responses. That is not considerate. That's not how we do things in our family. We'd like to work with you on finding a way that if you don't have anything to say, that you can communicate that really simply. Or if you are going to ignore us, let us know that you just want to have a bit of space just now. So we want to improve the quality of the communication through being considerate of the people who are around us. That's pretty much the conversation that I'd be having with a teenager if they're not communicating with you. The second thing that I'd be doing practically is I'd be finding ways to invite them back into my world or trying to find a way to inject myself into theirs. And so it might mean that we go for a bike ride or we go down to the park and we buy some gelato and sit there and have some ice cream. We don't even have to chat. There's no agenda. We're just spending time together. Or we invite them to play a board game at the table with the rest of the family. It's about having zero agenda conversations with the kids that help them feel inclined to share their lives when it feels good for them. Anyway, I've used up all of my words. I have nothing left to say.
I don't believe you.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. We will link to the study in the show notes. Hope you enjoyed that one. If you'd like more information and more resources about helping your kids to communicate, please let us know by visiting us at happyfamilies.com.au.